Hello everybody, welcome to the first episode of the NRS News. We have a very interesting episode planned for you today. It's going to be all about this first race of the round of 8 at the Talladega Superspeedway. It was a very eventful race, we'll say, by starting off with. We had an unexpected winner from among the most. We also had a better race, I believe, than the Talladega playoffs race of Season 1. Now, let's first start off with this race had a lot more black flags than I anticipated, but was all for the right and wrong reasons. And what I mean by that is all the right reasons for all the ones that they shouldn't have been making. Now we're going to start off before racing at Talladega. Behind that, when we came home from Dayton Fair Raceway. Dayton Fair Raceway was a flat half-mile oval, not paved. It was a gravel oval, and we saw who was going to be able to pick up learning that track and who was not having the time of their life. We saw Communist and Rep battling it out on the last lap for Rep to end up winning at Dayton. He dominated the whole race. It really showed what not only practice can do, but just having that learning skill, being able to pick up a track and learn it so easily like he did, and lead most of the laps. He led I believe 94 to 96% of the entire laps that race. He maybe didn't lead 2 of them. I think he didn't lead 2 laps. That was one on a restart, and then Communist led 1 lap in there between his reign, but Rep eventually took it back from him. Rep led 48 laps, not all in a row though, but I think that's the most amount of laps we've had anyone lead in a race. When you talk about percentage of leading laps, that would be the most in NRS history. Not only that knocked out 2 people from getting their way into the playoffs. That was between Feed, who didn't show up, and Will. Will was looking to win his way into the round of 8. He was 50 points below the cutoff line. A win would certainly have put him in Sky's place. Sky would have been knocked out. Jack would have still went into the playoffs due to the new rule that you must be in the top 8 of the points if you have a win and you want to lock yourself into the playoffs. Because Sky didn't show up to too many races, that knocked him below by 4 positions. But because we didn't have another first-time winner from the Dayton race, he was able to lock his way into the playoffs because of that, because there was more than 1 position open that wasn't already taken up by someone with a win. And on top of all of that, between all of that stuff that happened there, Communist ended up taking home the regular season championship, which was already determined whenever we went to the previous race before that. That was done at Darlington, I believe, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly. Alright, yes, that was Darlington. I got that correct. Darlington ended up being a really good race. Far better than what I thought it was going to be. There was some wall tapping involved, but it wasn't horrible, and there was penalties given out for it. There was moments whenever they got together at Darlington, there was a little bit of chaos, but once they got a hold of the track, started racing it for those 91 laps, it was overall a really good race. Some people could try to argue against it. I'll say otherwise, and yeah. No. So aside from that, now let's talk about Talladega coming into that race. We have 8 drivers looking to squeeze their way into the round of 6. 2 drivers eliminated. There's 2 races per round. This is that 2-race round out of the 3 rounds. Going into the playoffs, Communist had the lead of 7 points due to those 7 playoff points, and he was 6 points above the cutoff line. After Talladega, that's quite have changed. He's no longer 6 above, now he's 4 above the cutoff line. So it's a little bit of a downhill, not too much of a downhill, but it went down there, which everybody's going to be looking at that. And when we go here to Thompson Road Course, not this weekend, but the weekend after, because this weekend's Thanksgiving, the NRS is going to go through a bye week. Coming into that Talladega race, we saw Feed win the Talladega. He won a super speedway. We have him with a super speedway win. We have Lou with a super speedway win from Daytona this season. We have a good amount of people that came out of the super speedway business, basically, if you want to call it a business. But when our origins started out in NASCAR Unleashed, the game in Roblox, not the other game that I forget who made, but is an actual console game. And most of the tracks on the schedule were super speedways. And since then we've evolved from that, but I think a lot of the people, whenever we visit these super speedways in a season, they kind of bring back the skill from, or whatever skill that they had from super speedway racing in season 1. But the whole race was a big upset in terms of those last few laps. We went into 3 overtimes. AJ ended up getting turned coming to the white flag, and he was never able to recuperate from that, being knocked out of the draft. And Jack Illusions did take the white flag, and we thought that's how it was going to end too, him taking the checkered flag, but you already know that long front stretch, that long distance off of the final quarter to start finish line, because it is not in the same place that it is for Daytona. Daytona, it's right there in the center of the tri-oval. But the start finish at Talladega, it's pushed forward more. It's pushed closer where turn 1 is than at Daytona. So you got a longer distance there on that front stretch. It's wide. A lot of passing opportunities through there. It isn't going to be immediately off that corner like at Daytona. At Daytona, you can set up a pass, go into turn 4, push them high, and if you get that person in front of you high, if you're in second, you're falling behind someone that's in front of you, going into turn 4, you want to put them up high so you can get below them, and they're not going to really have a chance of coming back at you from there unless they get a good pusher behind them. Most of the time, probably not unless they got a teammate there. Now, Talladega, however, it's not exactly like that. You don't want to set your pass up in a turn 4, you want to set your pass up towards, maybe, I guess, well, you want to set it up in turn 4. You don't want to complete it till you get out of turn 4. You want to be as close to that start finish as you can, but not too close to that start finish when you set up your pass. That's the whole strategy that everybody was looking for, and we saw a lot of that happening. We saw that between Jack and K-Boss on the last lap. Jack ended up getting tight into the corner, went high. K-Boss was able to put his nose below him and get through him. But the same fate happened to K-Boss at the exit of turn 4 into the tri-oval, where he got pushed up by Lucas. Lucas went below him, but when he went below him alright. Lucas ended up going below the double yellow line, under his own will. Same thing with Communist and even Rep as well. All 3 drivers went below. 2 of those 3 made passes below double yellow. 1 was the leader, and the leader can't go below double yellow. So all 3 drivers were given to the rear at the finish line, at the finish. They finished 5th, 6th, 7th in that race. And Jack was awarded the winner because he was running 3rd if there was no penalties given out. But because those penalties given out, the 2 people in front of him, Lucas and Communist, they were given the black flag. Jack was right there. Jack was the next person in line that wasn't in violation and got the win out of it. Now, however, in the case that say Lucas didn't go below the double yellow line, he would be in the competition of competing for having the most wins of the season of all time. Most wins for one season. Right now, that record currently goes to Berger to having, I believe, 6 wins last season in one season. Didn't bring up a championship with that, but it was a good turnout for him. This season now, it's Lucas with 4 wins on the season. That could have been his 5th right there if he wouldn't have went below the double yellow. And because of that, he went below the double yellow. It's still going to remain at 4. We still got 4 more races left in this season for him to win 3 of them, at least try to. Don't know how well he's going to do at that. But overall, Talladega was a really good race. It was the first race of the season that we had fuel. We did testing with fuel. At first, it was breaking the draft and bump draft. We got it figured out. Behold, fuel. Now, the fuel strategy was the fuel run was anywhere between 20 to 23 laps. That's about as far as you could go in terms with saving and not saving fuel. Now, we did have caution laps, and on the caution laps, that wore your fuel down even more than during a green flag pace lap, so there was also that. So everybody, I think, believed pit 2 times that race. Due to the overtimes we went into, we used all 3 overtime attempts. Next season, by the way, there's plans of removing overtime so we can have unlimited overtime attempts. There is planning and working out problems with that. Trying to get it is why maybe we don't want unlimited because we could have like 100 attempts at a green white checkered. Trying to get to that checkered flag, or actually no, it's just trying to get to the white flag is what we're looking for. But we may not want to have unlimited. It might be having maybe 5 attempts at max. We've never had to really use the 3rd attempt very often. It's typically we only use that 3rd attempt at super speedways really, because that's how often they end up wrecking here. You're just going so fast around a tight pack, so one wrong move ends up in a caution, so you only see that really at super speedways. But now, leaving Talladega Super Speedway, the points has been really interesting coming out of that. Going into it, Communist had 7 points total, 6 above the cut line coming into Talladega. He now has 18 points total, but he's now only, I believe, let me take a look at the points sheet here. Now he's only 3 points, no, he's only 4 points above the cutoff line currently. So he does now fade closer to that cutoff line by a little bit of a margin. He's still within reach of, say, Lucas, Aspect, and Replicator. Do I believe he'll be knocked out of the round of 8? I actually kind of highly doubt it, unless he just doesn't show up to the race that everybody else does. If he finishes last, and say those 3 that are currently tied at the cutoff line finish all ahead of him, and then those they make up like the top 3, like in the case that say Aspect, Lucas, and Rep, if they all finish top 3 at Thompson Road Course, Berger and AJ round out the top 5, and then Communist finishes last, that would probably be the only way that Communist could be knocked out of the round of 8. It'll be interesting to watch, mostly because they're all really close to the cutoff line. Jack is now the only person that doesn't have to worry about Thompson Road Course, which everybody was trying to win Tom's here at Talladega because Thompson Road Course, it's a new track. It's also, well, a road course. Road courses in the playoffs the drivers here in the NRS, we have the history with the road courses. Road courses was a new thing for the NRS this season. Last season, we did not end up going to a road course. We tried going to Watkins Glen, didn't work out the way we wanted it to, just because of bad setups in a game that we had no control over, NASCAR Unleashed. That's why we got the new server and our own separate game now. And we've went so far this season to what will be 3 road courses. We went to Daytona Road Course in the beginning. Berger took the victory there. We went to Watkins Glen, which was a rain race. Sky took the victory there, and that's how he got into the playoffs. Now we're going to Thompson Road Course in 2 weeks. It's going to be very interesting. Thompson Road Course is rather a flat track except for the last 2 corners. Those are the only banked corners. We also see the play of curbs. Getting pushed into that grass where there's a curb there, your car will go flying. And the penalty rate's going to be really high, I believe, when we get a Thompson Road Course due to that. There might be some track changes, though, so we don't have as many of those. We don't kill cars. But just looking at the curb aspect of it, it's going to be a hard track, I believe, because not only do we have those curbs that you have the ability to get forced into, we also have fuel for that race. Because we have fuel for that race, now it's not only a manage of just racing the track and getting green flag runs in. Now you have to watch your fuel and know when to pit, because one mistake on pit road, whether it's overshooting your pit box, not getting into your pit box, that can ruin your race for you. Especially if you lose like any amount of time on pit road. You wanna be the fastest on the track. Give yourself that buffer. But right now, playoffs outlook currently for the round of 8. Jack is currently leading the playoffs. He's locked into the next round with that win at Talladega. Communist is second. Berger and AJ third and fourth. In that order, they are tied with 17 points. They are currently 3 points above the cutoff line. They're still relatively close. They still have a chance of being knocked out of the round of 8. And then we got Aspect, Lucas, and Replicator, all tied and at the cutoff line. So they're all at the 0 points above the cutoff line, because that's where they're all tied at, is right on that cutoff line. The chances of one of them getting knocked out next round are pretty high. It's gonna be one of them, I believe, that'll be not fighting for a championship after these 2 weeks are over. Then we got Sky, 5 points below the cutoff line, the only other person that is not tied with points. Jack is technically tied with points. He has 17 points coming out of Talladega, but because he's locked into the next round, his points don't matter at this point. You don't have to worry about how many points he has in that kind of sense, unless one of the playoff drivers end up winning at Thompson Road. Of course, we could always have a non-playoff driver win, which will eliminate someone locking themselves into the next round. Now, out of all of these fielded drivers, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do at Thompson Road Course. There's going to be strategies in play. There's going to be a lot of fighting. There's going to be bumps and runs. There's going to be everything. Thompson Road Course, believe it or not, is a fast road course. That back stretch is really long. That front stretch is even longer. We got a side stretch between the last 2 corners. Also going to be a fast portion of the track, because those are the 2 hardest braking corners of the track, especially the last corner. The last corner is what I believe 120-degree corner. Last time I checked it, that's exactly what it measured out to. No, wait. My bad. It's actually a 60-degree corner. Not too harsh, but it's a relatively flat and tight corner. It is basically just forms an elbow. It's not a long corner either. It's a short, tight angled corner. The second to last corner is a longer corner, but it also says it's at a higher of an angle of corner. It's also slightly banked. Those are going to be the problem areas, I believe, where everybody's going to be facing at, because there's no outer portion of that corner. There's no way, like, if you're racing there in the middle portion of the track, there's a bit of a buffer coming off that corner, so you can go wide. Here, if you go wide, you're into the wall on those last two corners. But overall, it's going to be a very eventful race. And it's going to be one to watch. It could either go really well or it could go really wrong. I would love it to go really well, because we do not need another bad race just to ruin the reputation, let alone hurt the drivers in any shape or way. Out of all of that, the big question is this: who's going to advance to the round of 6? And who's going to have the best shot at winning the championship? Who are we looking to see who's going to win this championship? Right now, Jack Illusions is your basically rookie of the year. He's the only rookie that's made it into the playoffs. He's also the only rookie with, I believe, no. Speed and Dog both have a win on the season, so I guess I can't say he's the only person with a win on the season. Neither of those drivers actually race in the league now at this point. But Jack's right now your current rookie of the year. So that's already locked up. But now we're looking to see what Lucas is going to do in these next rounds. We're going to see if Communist can keep a high streak going ahead of him. He had a tough time at Dayton, and then that penalty right after next at Talladega definitely gave him 2 bad races. Not being able to win or dominate Dayton was pretty big for him. We also saw Zachy at Darlington putting off a very first start for his charter races. He was even doing better than most drivers, including Communist, those that are already locked into the playoffs. So he's going to be a driver to watch next season. He was supposed to race at Talladega, but did not start. I believe he'll be racing Slinger is his next track he'll be racing at. But for now, this is Xander Tompin with your NRS news, signing out. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time.